In the quiet moments when words fail and silence feels heavy, remember this truth. Silence is not the end, but often the beginning of healing. Behind that silence lies a heart still wrestling, still hoping, still holding on. Though you may not hear the words today, love is not gone. It's simply waiting for the right time to be heard again. Be patient with the silence, compassionate with the unseen struggle, and faithful in the hope that time will bring clarity and peace. In that waiting, both hearts can grow stronger, learning that sometimes love speaks loudest in the quiet. So do not lose heart. Trust that this silence is not a sign of giving up, but a sacred space where healing unfolds and new beginnings take root. Hold on to hope, lean into compassion, and keep the door open for when the silence breaks, because when it does, it may bring a deeper understanding, a renewed love, and a brighter tomorrow for both of you. There is a powerful battle that often goes unnoticed because it happens in silence. When someone stops speaking, when words dry up and communication fades, it's easy to assume that they have moved on, that their heart has closed the door and walked away. But silence is not always a sign of forgetting or letting go. Sometimes silence is the sound of a heart quietly struggling. Behind every silent pause is a war waged deep within, a fight with emotions that are too painful, too complex to express. When a man becomes silent, it may not be because he is over you or indifferent to what was shared. Instead, it might be because his spirit is bruised and his soul is seeking refuge from the storm of feelings raging inside. We live in a world that values noise, words spoken boldly, emotions displayed openly, closure demanded swiftly. Yet, the human heart does not always follow these rules. It retreats, it hides, it becomes quiet, not because it no longer cares, but because it is protecting itself. It is gathering strength in the shadows, healing in the unseen corners of the mind. Silence is often misunderstood. It is mistaken for absence, for coldness, for finality, but it can be the language of a wounded heart. It can be the quiet cry of someone who still loves, but doesn't yet have the courage to say so. It is the unspoken hope that healing will come, even if it must begin in solitude. In those silent moments, a man may be walking through a valley of grief, battling regret, or wrestling with memories. He may be asking questions that have no answers, searching for peace that feels just out of reach. Though he does not speak, his heart is still beating with all the love, pain, and hope that words cannot capture. Understanding this quiet struggle calls for patience and compassion. It asks us to see beyond what is visible and to believe in the unseen. It reminds us that healing is a process that cannot be rushed or forced. Just as the dawn follows the darkest night, so too can silence give way to new light when the time is right. So, if you find yourself facing this silence, do not mistake it for finality. Instead, hold space for the quiet battle within. Pray for strength, hope for clarity, and prepare your heart for the moment when the silence finally breaks. Because behind that silence lies a story still being written, one of endurance, faith, and the enduring power of love. There is a profound battle that often goes unseen, fought not with words or actions, but in the deep silence of the heart. When someone grows quiet, when the voices stop, it's tempting to think they have moved on, that the story has ended. But silence is not always a sign of closure. Sometimes silence is the language of a soul wrestling with pain too heavy to share. Behind the stillness, there is often a quiet struggle, a struggle between holding on and letting go, between hope and heartbreak. When a man becomes silent, it doesn't mean he's no longer affected. Rather, it means he's caught in the storm of emotions swirling inside. The silence is not absence but presence, an unseen battle where he fights with memories, regrets, and feelings that words cannot capture. We live in a world that craves answers and closure, that values speaking out and moving on quickly, but the heart does not always heal on a schedule or reveal its pain with loud cries. Sometimes healing is a private journey taken in solitude and quiet reflection. It's in this silence that courage is found, not the courage to shout, but the courage to endure, to survive the darkness until the light comes. Understanding this quiet struggle requires patience and compassion. It calls us to look beyond the surface and see the depth of what remains unspoken. It reminds us that silence can be a refuge, a place where the soul gathers strength before it can speak again. So, when you face someone's silence, don't mistake it for indifference. Recognize it as a sacred space where healing and hope quietly take root. In time, that silence may give way to new words, new beginnings. But until then, honor the quiet struggle and hold space for the journey unfolding within. Because sometimes the strongest battles are not fought out loud, they are fought in silence with faith and resilience as the only weapons. Waiting is one of the hardest things we face in life. When someone we care about grows silent, when answers don't come quickly, or when the future feels uncertain, our hearts grow heavy with doubt and fear. Yet, in those very moments, there lies a hidden power, an unyielding strength that comes from hope in waiting. Hope is not passive. It is not mere wishful thinking or empty optimism. Hope is a fierce, living force that anchors the soul amid the storm. It is what keeps a heart beating when silence seems endless. When he's silent, it may feel like the end of the story, but hope whispers that this is only a chapter, not the conclusion. Waiting with hope means believing in what cannot yet be seen. It means trusting that time, with its gentle hands, will bring clarity, healing, and renewal. Hope gives us patience to endure the silence without despair. Faith to believe that the unseen struggle inside is moving toward peace, and courage to hold on even when the way forward is unclear. Hope is a light in the darkness. It illuminates the path when all else feels shadowed and uncertain. It reminds us that silence is not the absence of love, but sometimes its quiet caretaker. While words may be absent now, hope assures us that feelings remain, that love can survive the pause and emerge stronger on the other side. Waiting with hope also changes us. It teaches us endurance, deepens our compassion, and strengthens our faith. It prepares our hearts to receive what comes next, whether it is reconciliation, understanding, or the grace to let go. In this waiting, we are not idle, we are growing, transforming, and becoming ready for the next step. So, when faced with silence, do not lose heart. Embrace the power of hope in waiting. Let it be your anchor, your strength, and your guide. Trust that this season of quiet is shaping a future filled with healing and renewed love, even if you cannot see it yet. Because hope is not just a feeling, it is a promise that the best is still to come. Love is often thought of as something visible, spoken words, shared moments, physical presence. But true love goes far beyond what the eyes can see or the ears can hear. It endures beyond presence, beyond proximity, and even beyond silence. Love is a powerful force that lives in the heart long after someone has gone quiet, long after the world seems to have moved on. When he is silent, it's easy to assume that love has faded, that the flame has been extinguished. But love does not die simply because it is not voiced or visible. Real love persists in the quiet places, it lingers in memories, and it quietly holds on even when circumstances change. It is not measured by daily conversation or shared laughter alone, but by the depth of feeling that remains beneath the surface. Love's endurance means that even in absence there is a presence felt not with the senses but with the heart. It is the invisible thread that connects souls across time and space, a bond that no silence or distance can sever. Sometimes love is patient, sometimes it is waiting. It waits with hope, with faith, and with a quiet strength that does not demand attention but simply remains. This kind of love teaches us that relationships are not defined solely by moments of togetherness, but by the lasting impact they leave within us. When someone is silent, it might be because their love is still alive, still fighting its own battles internally. That love may not be loud, but it is not absent. It is enduring, resilient, and quietly powerful. In this endurance, there is a call for understanding, not to rush, not to pressure, but to respect the space where love continues to exist even when it is not spoken. It invites us to trust in the unseen work of the heart and to believe that love's story is still unfolding, sometimes in silence, sometimes in time. So, remember, love's true strength is revealed not only in presence, but in its ability to endure beyond it. It is the steady light in the darkest nights, the quiet hope in the longest silence, and the faithful heart that never truly lets go. When words fail and silence grows heavy between hearts, there is a deeper call that rises above the noise, a call to compassion and prayer. In moments of quiet struggle, when someone is silent not because they are over you, but because they are wrestling with unseen battles, compassion becomes the language that heals where words cannot reach. Compassion is more than sympathy. It is the willingness to enter into the pain of another without judgment, to listen with the heart when the ears hear nothing, and to stand beside them in their silence. It asks us to see beyond what is visible and to understand that silence often hides a world of hurt, confusion, and hope. It is a call to patience, to kindness, and to gentle presence, reminding us that healing takes time and grace is often the balm that soothes the wounded soul. Alongside compassion comes the power of prayer, a sacred dialogue with the divine where we can lay down our worries, our unanswered questions, and our hopes for restoration. Prayer is a refuge, a source of strength not only for the one who is silent, but for those who hold space for them. It connects us to a higher power, reminding us that no struggle is unseen, no heartache unnoticed. In prayer, we find the courage to wait, the peace to endure, and the faith that transformation is underway, even when we cannot yet see it. Together, compassion and prayer create a powerful force. They remind us that we are not alone in our struggles, and neither are those we love. When faced with silence, instead of filling the void with assumptions or frustration, we are called to respond with empathy and faith. To pray not just for answers but for healing, to offer not just words but presence, to trust that love can be renewed, that wounds can be mended, and that silence can be broken with hope. So, when he is silent and your heart aches with uncertainty, let compassion soften your spirit and prayer strengthen your soul. Let these be your response, quiet, steady, and full of faith. Because in compassion and prayer, we find the light that guides us through the darkness and the love that never lets go.